Another grand day in Greystones. So, Ciaran, I only became aware of this recently, but Wonder Tours, has that been around for, Wicklow Wonder Tours, has that been around for a while now? Or?
No, it's a new project this year, but it started by an old company that has been around for a long time, which is East Coast Minibus Hire. The managing director of that is Owen Nolan, who's been involved in the people transport business in Greystones for many, many years.
Yes.
So this year, Owen has found, and
thank you, ma'am. That's cool. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you. Sorry. Yes, Owen. Yes.
That, you know, the more and more people he's carrying are asking for other things, particularly in relation to looking at North Wicklow, visiting the scenes and sites of the area, and experiencing what North Wicklow has to offer.
So you seem to have had quite a good sort of reputation in this area. So was that, I don't know if he came to you then, or whether you sort of heard about it and came to him, because it seems like you would be a good man to talk to in this area. And
yeah, so like, I mean, I've known Owen for a long time. Owen's family are neighbours of my mother in Bellevue Park, so I've known Owen for a long, long time, and I've been doing some part-time work with Owen for the last couple of years, and it was something that just generically grew, and this year Owen decided that this is a good time to brand the bus and start to move it on. Well,
what seems to be smart, I've spoken to you briefly before, is just that you've deliberately kind of recognised the things that aren't generally on the map. So these things are just going beyond the usual tourist information, so into deeper history, into little kind of
that's what's really, really important. And look, next week, the 15th of August, is Heritage Week.
Right.
And, you know, I think what people who are in the tourism game should be doing is looking at what the tourist wants, not necessarily looking at the way the establishment is pointing you.
Yeah.
For example, we can all go to Glendalough and we can all talk about St. Kevin, and we can talk about Seamus Heaney's poem, St. Kevin and the Blackbird, and that's all, everybody knows that, that's fine. But there's so much more besides that. I mean, if you're just taking Glendalough, for example, yes, people want to go to Glendalough. There's over 1 million people a year visit Glendalough. But if you're going to Glendalough, sometimes it can be difficult to get in, especially this time of year. There can be big crowds there. But just beside Glendalough is Delorossery Cemetery, the burial place of our fourth president, Erskine Childers, and his second cousin, his father's first cousin, Robert Barton. And Robert Barton was a signatory to the treaty with the United Kingdom in 1922, but then he changed sides when he came back. The site of Delorossery Church is a pagan site. There's Balon stones there. So there's so much layers and layers and layers of history that you can just explain, and I think that's what our heritage is about more than other things. You know, I'll give you an example on that one. Would be like, say, Powers Court House, for example, built by the De La Poors after the Norman invasion, but then taken on by the Wingfield family, which was a grant by a British monarch. And beautiful house, beautiful gardens, although they're probably not Irish gardens. I think some of them are Japanese, but I mean, that maybe not as closely related to our heritage as what some things that Delorossery might offer. But besides Powers Court, if you're doing a visit to Powers Court, you have Glencree. Now, Glencree is another place that has layers and layers of history. You know, the military road was built in 1800 to flush out Dwyer and Holt. And Glencree was the barracks for the 75 British soldiers.
We should point out now, none of this is written on the back of your hand anywhere. I've been watching you.
No. So the British built Glencree, and Holt and Dwyer got together after the road was built through the Wicklow Mountains, and they said, well, look at, they can't catch us, we can't beat them, so let's sue them for peace terms. So Holt and Dwyer sued for terms, and they left Ireland as free men, and the British were stuck with 4 barracks and a big road that they couldn't use. And that's a fact, and that's how Glencree was born. Then it became a reformatory school. The Oblates Fathers ran it for 90 years, until 1940. Then it was used for Operation Shamrock, which was the German kids coming over, and the Czech kids and the Polish kids, and getting a better life here. It was ran for 7 or 8 years. And then after that, Una O'Higgins O'Malley opened the Peace and Reconciliation Centre in 1974, and no better person to open that than Una O'Higgins O'Malley, because her father, Kevin O'Higgins, was the Minister for Justice that was murdered by the IRA in 1927. So her family had seen what the need for peace and reconciliation. And only recently I was doing a job for Owen, and I brought some Congolese people up to Glencree, and they were studying peace and reconciliation. So that's amazing. So there's stories there, and then that's the Glencree Centre. But then across the road, then you have the German Military Cemetery or German War Cemetery, and there's some real characters buried in there. If you dig into it, you know, there's Herman Gutz.
You know, it is illegal to dig in cemeteries, just so you know, just in case the tour goes.
The body snatchers.
Well, yeah, it used to be frowned upon, and now it's actually illegal. So.
That's why they put the concrete slabs actually on the graves, is to stop that. Yeah.
Right.
But also there's one very interesting thing that I've done some research on recently in Glencree is a mass rock.
All right.
And these mass rocks are fascinating because these were used during penal times. A priest would arrive on horseback, usually hidden. He wouldn't be wearing priest cloaks or anything like that. And he would say mass to the faithful who were illegally practicing their religion. And what happened in Glencree was the mass rock had to shut down early because they built a barracks beside it. So they couldn't, so they had to move up the hill to a new mass rock. So there's very interesting layers of our history that you can.
And what of course grabbed me, being you know, with the Greystones guide, always fascinated by Greystones history. I didn't realise Collins in the Holy Rosary got the
Oh, that's a great story. Yeah,
right.
That is a great story. So the story goes, and it's true. So Collins used to frequent the Grand Hotel.
Yes.
And he was engaged to Kitty Kiernan. They were planning to buy a house in Greystones, and the house that they were planning to buy was Brooklands on Trafalgar Road.
Right.
I think the irony of Trafalgar Road and Collins is fascinating because Trafalgar Road was named after the 50th anniversary of Nelson's victory at the Battle of Trafalgar. So in 1855, exactly 50 years after the Battle of Trafalgar, Trafalgar Road was laid out by the Touche family, and they, in honour of Nelson, they named it Trafalgar Road. And also the same Touche family had financed through their bank Nelson's Pillar in Dublin. So they were fascinated by Nelson.
Right.
And now you have Collins. It's a very different character coming in, wanting to buy a house there on that road. I think that's great. But he had his last two sacraments in the Holy Rosary Church.
Wow.
So Father Ignatius, who was a passionate father, was visiting Greystones, and happened to be in the church when Collins came in 2 days before he was shot in Bale.
Wow.
And he received confession and his Holy Communion from Father Ignatius.
Amazing.
In the Holy Rosary Church in Greystones. So that is, just a fascinating piece of history.
Well, and the thing is, the jigsaw, like, and that's the way it is with history. It's never finished as a jigsaw puzzle, because there's always going to be another angle to the people in the room, the situation, how it came to be, what happened immediately before, immediately after. I find that endlessly fascinating. That you know a part of that history, but then a layer to it appears because somebody else has a little bit more information.
And look at the Touche family are a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And there's been so much research and work done from organisations like the Greystones Archaeological Society and the Touche Legacy on the history of the Touche family.
Yeah.
But that's a fascinating family.
Yes.
I mean, Huguenot refugees have to leave France because of the revocation of the Edict of Nantes in 1685. The Protestant faith was now illegal. France was a Catholic country. They had to get out. David Latouche I, via Holland, King William's army, arrived in Dublin. His son, David Latouche II, builds Bellevue. His son, Peter Latouche, builds Christ Church in Delgany, and the story goes on. Absolutely amazing story. But Peter Latouche, fascinating character. I was doing some research on General Joseph Holt, who was one of the people I aforementioned that earlier. And when General Holt sued for terms to get out of Ireland as a free man, as a man that wasn't going to face gallows, he went to the Latouches. He went to Peter Latouche, and in particular his wife Elizabeth, and they funded the transport of his wife and young son out to Australia. So this is a united Irishman, a rebel who'd been living in the mountains, fighting the very establishment that the Latouches stood for, and now the Latouches were paying for his wife and son to go out.
Wow.
So these are the stories, Paul.
Yeah.
The layers and layers.
And they're always more fascinating than fiction, because in truth life goes bizarre, lefts and rights that just you wouldn't think would make sense in fiction, but they happen.
And
that's the way life
despite
is.
the British being here and the rebels, we were still a small country, and
Yeah.
the British and the Irish interacted so much with each other. And the Touche family, who were Protestant Huguenots, that's just an example of it.
Yeah.
They built Christchurch in Delgany, as you know, those Peter and Touche, cost of £5,000 and donated to the community. One of the interesting baptisms that happened at church was Robert Monteith,
Oh wow.
the famous rebel, who was also himself a Protestant.
Kilcool's finest.
And Kilcool's finest, and he was baptised in Christchurch in Delgany.
Oh, wow.
It's another twist, and then you can go into the Kilcool gun running then as well.
Sure,
And that's even deeper and deeper again.
Now, we should say there's options when people want to go out. There's a half-day tour, there's a full-day tour.
Yeah.
The half-day tour, do you just get left halfway and then you have to find your way back? Or?
No, we'll bring you back. I'll give you an example. We had a family on a tour just recently. They were originally from Killadreenan in Newton and Kennedy, and they wanted a bespoke tour. So they wanted to see the old family home as a starting point in Killadreenan and then move around. So we designed the tour for something. This is people who have made their living, done very well in the UK, but now they're back home, third generation, and they want to show the third generation what they were brought up in and what Ireland was like and what Ireland came through. And that was a bespoke tour, 4 hours. We had them back in their hotel in Bray by just a little after lunch, but designed specifically for them, for their family, and what they wanted to see.
And what you've said too, a big part of the sort of, we'll say that the motto for the tours is that you're touring like a local.
Yeah.
This is
so
you're going from pub to pub then, basically.
Yeah, see Wicklow like a local. That's exactly it. So the way me or you see Wicklow, and you have done a lot of research.
Yeah.
I've watched some of your clips, especially around Delgany, and like the stuff you've done is fascinating. And I picked up on some of that stuff as well. So me and you would be we know it as a local, but it's to give the visitor that experience that we know of.
So with the tours themselves, is this a summer thing? Is it all year round? I don't know what the plan is.
All year round.
Right.
All year round.
Right.
Whenever you want. It's morning, afternoon, evening, half day or a full day, and it's bespoke. So if you want to do the Power Skirt, or if you want to do the Glendalough, or if you want to do the Wicklow Mountains and take a photograph of the P.S. I Love You Bridge, that's all fine. We can do all that, but we can bolt on so much more that you don't get in the big bus that has the diddly eye music playing all day long, and a guide sitting at the front reading a script.
So, well, you're a heavy metal man. You wouldn't.
Yes, I
that,
wouldn't.
So, yes. So I'll just say all the links are going to be here above the video, so people can just follow through, find out a bit more. But I'll just say well done, because it's a sweet idea, and I do think that that feeling that somebody's genuinely deep in the wool of that history, it makes such a difference, because there's many good tours out there, but when you're just dealing with a local person who has that at their fingertips all the time.
Yeah. Look, I'll leave it at this. History's on your doorstep.
Right. Beautiful.